From the New York Times, it's The Headlines. I'm Tracy Mumford. Today's Tuesday, September 30th. Here's what we're covering.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of the State of Israel.
Thank you very much, everybody. So this is a big day, a beautiful day.
President Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made a joint appearance at the White House yesterday to unveil a new peace proposal.
If accepted by Hamas, this proposal calls for the release of all remaining hostages immediately, but in no case more than 72 hours.
The plan includes an immediate ceasefire, as well as the return of hostages. In exchange, Israel would release almost 2,000 Palestinian prisoners and detainees. Once that's done, Hamas members who decommission their weapons would be given amnesty. The group would not be allowed to play any role in governing Gaza in the future.
I have a feeling that we're going to have a positive answer. But if not, as you know, Bibi, you'd have our full backing to do what you would have to do.
While they framed it as a deal, Trump and Netanyahu also delivered the terms as an ultimatum.
This can be done the easy way, or it can be done the hard way. But it will be done.
At the current moment, what we know is that Hamas has been given a copy of the plan by both Egyptian and Qatari officials who met with Hamas negotiators last night. According to these officials, Hamas said it would study the plan in good faith and offer a response later on.
My colleague Adam Razgon has been covering the many rounds of ceasefire negotiations over the last 2 years. He says typically, Hamas leaders based outside Gaza have had to assess the terms and then share them with Hamas military commanders who are actually on the ground in the Strip. And it can take days, if not weeks, before the group comes to an internal consensus about how to respond.
Analysts I've been speaking to say there are elements of this deal that Hamas in the past has said it would not accept. The deal calls for Hamas fighters to decommission their weapons and also for the destruction of weapons infrastructure throughout Gaza. And these analysts are saying that Hamas has been very clear in the past that it will not disarm, that it will not demilitarize the Gaza Strip, and that's going to be a really tough point for them to accept.
At the White House, Trump also unveiled a vision for post-war Gaza.
My plan calls for the creation of a new international oversight body, the Board of Peace, we call it, the Board of Peace, sort of a beautiful name.
The president said the territory would be governed temporarily by a committee made up of Palestinians and international experts, with oversight from a Board of Peace, which Trump himself would lead. It would also include members still to be announced, including former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair. They'd have the task of redeveloping the territory, considering the extensive damage from Israel's military campaigns. Trump has long been focused on the potential value of the waterfront property in Gaza. Notably, the plan says nothing concrete about a pathway to Palestinian statehood, which most of the countries in the world and a growing number of Western countries already recognize. Meanwhile, as the war approaches the 2-year mark, a new poll from the Times and Siena College has found that Americans' support for Israel has declined dramatically since the war began. In a major reversal, a majority of American voters now oppose sending additional economic and military aid to Israel. And the share of voters who said Israel was intentionally killing civilians in Gaza has nearly doubled to 40%.
It was a frank and direct discussion with the President of the United States and Republican leaders, but significant and meaningful differences remain.
Despite a meeting at the White House with President Trump and top congressional leaders, Democrats and Republicans seem to be no closer to a deal, with less than 24 hours to go until a government shutdown. Republicans need at least some Democratic support to pass a temporary spending measure, but Democrats are standing by their demand for additional health care funding.
Yeah, they have some crazy ideas. Giving taxpayer money to illegal aliens for health care, that's a crazy idea. Funding transgender surgeries.
Republicans have been falsely claiming that Democrats are shutting down the government to try and fund free health care for unauthorized immigrants. In fact, unauthorized immigrants are largely barred from federally funded healthcare programs like Medicaid and Medicare, and the Democrats' proposal does not make them eligible. Last night, Trump seemed to make the possibility of a deal even more remote, sharing an AI-generated video that faked Senator Chuck Schumer's voice to repeat the talking point about healthcare for undocumented immigrants. The video also showed Representative Hakeem Jeffries with a fake mustache and sombrero. Now, 3 more updates on the Trump administration. In Illinois,
what I have been warning of is now being realized. One thing is clear, none of what Trump is doing is making Illinois safer.
100 National Guard troops are set to be deployed over the objections of the state's governor, J.B. Pritzker. President Trump's been threatening to send troops to the Chicago area for weeks, as he did in Los Angeles and as he just promised to do in Portland, Oregon, saying it's necessary to fight crime in the cities, which are led by Democrats. At the same time, a wave of federal agents are set to arrive in Memphis as soon as this week. That has divided residents. Many are exhausted by the crime rate, one of the highest in the nation, and open to federal help. But some are also wary of potentially heavy-handed policing that fails to address systemic problems. Also, according to a court filing, YouTube has agreed to pay a $24.5 million settlement to President Trump and others who were suspended from the platform in the wake of the January 6th attack on the Capitol. YouTube froze Trump's account after the riot, arguing that posting more content could lead to more violence. Trump sued, claiming he was wrongfully censored. He made similar complaints against Meta and X, who paid out $25 million and $10 million, respectively. Trump has directed his portion of the YouTube settlement to go to the Trust for the National Mall and the construction of the new ballroom he's building at the White House. And the Times has learned that top aides in the Trump administration are pushing to remove Nicolas Maduro as the leader of Venezuela. Secretary of State Marco Rubio's leading the effort. He's argued Maduro is an illegitimate leader who sits atop Venezuela's cartel network and oversees the export of drugs, which Rubio says poses an imminent threat to the U.S. The Pentagon has built up a force of more than 6,500 troops in the region, and in the last few weeks, the U.S. military has launched lethal attacks on boats that the administration said were smuggling drugs for Venezuelan gangs. At the same time, 2 senior figures in Venezuela's opposition say their movement has been talking with the Trump administration about what could happen next. Administration officials have not confirmed whether those conversations took place, and the White House did not comment on the matter. And finally,
and there's his hit. Hope you got that betted.
Over the past several years, the experience of watching live sports has completely changed with the rise of something called in-game or live betting.
Last day of the regular season, so don't forget to download the FanDuel Sports app. It's the best place for live betting and same-game parlays, and it pays out instantly.
And that is basically exactly what it sounds like. It's bets that you make while a game is underway.
Live odds to win the second set have Andrieva as the slight favorite.
They can be bets on single events in the game, like the outcome of a single play, the pitch speed of a single pitch in baseball. It's the idea that you can bet throughout games from the start to the end.
My colleague Jenny Vrentas, who covers the business of sports, says rapid-fire live betting has become one of the fastest-growing segments of the sports gambling industry. She says pro sports leagues have gone all in, partnering with gambling companies and even bringing live odds into the broadcasts of games as a way to boost fan engagement. Live betting is helping drive profits for companies like DraftKings and FanDuel, but its meteoric rise, with the ability to make one bet after another, all from your phone, has also raised concerns among those who study gambling addiction.
So a good way to think about this is the old school form of sports betting was more like a lottery ticket where you would place a bet before the game and wait a few hours to see if you won or lost. The current form of sports betting now is more like an online slot machine where you can continually place bets one after the other. One counselor I spoke to said that some of his patients gamble in the shower, they gamble when they wake up in the morning. They're looking for different bets to place around the world on different sports throughout games, any time of day. And so as sports betting has been transformed, there are concerns from many public health experts that we spoke to that live betting can lead to greater harms for some people that engage in it, which could be bigger financial losses, negative effects on health and relationships that come from, betting more often, more frequently, more continually.
Those are the headlines. Today on The Daily, more new polling data from The Times and Siena College, including a look at President Trump's approval rating. You can listen to that in the New York Times app or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Tracy Mumford. We'll be back tomorrow.